Nearly 3 million people in Ontario use and depend on groundwater every day. Protecting our groundwater is vital to our health because this is the water that we drink. Let's remember what happened in Walkerton, Ontario in 2000. 7 people died and thousands became sick because the water that they drank from their municipal well was contaminated.
The Ontario government made groundwater protection a priority with the passing of the Clean Water Act in 2006. Local plans are being developed to protect our sources of drinking water from contamination and depletion.
Protecting groundwater is important for public health and an important part of ensuring safe, abundant drinking water for our future. We can all agree that it makes good sense to keep our sources of drinking water clean and protected, and each of us can be part of that goal. But how?
First, we need to understand more about groundwater. What is it exactly? How does it move through the ground? How can it become contaminated? What can we do to protect groundwater?
Groundwater is water stored underground. Sounds simple, right? Well, not quite. Water on Earth is constantly being recycled through a process known as the hydrologic cycle. Water from our lakes, rivers, and oceans evaporates and forms clouds. Depending on weather conditions, the water vapor within those clouds condenses and falls back to Earth in the form of rain or snow. This precipitation runs off into our lakes, rivers, and streams, or seeps into the ground to collect in formations called aquifers.
We can't see an aquifer or groundwater. A groundwater model can help us understand how the groundwater moves through the different layers underground. It can show us how easily our groundwater can become contaminated.
An aquifer is the layer underground at which groundwater is found moving through soil particles and cracks and crevices in rock. Groundwater is not confined to only a few channels underground. It's actually found almost everywhere under the Earth's surface. Groundwater sometimes flows into local lakes, rivers, and streams, or it can remain underground for millions of years. Groundwater flows from areas of high land to low, and eventually makes its way to our lakes and rivers, where it repeats the hydrologic cycle all over again. The colored water shows how the water moves through the ground downhill toward the river. As it flows into the river, you can see the color of the river change. Groundwater can travel through both soil and fractured rock with cracks and spaces in it. Flow in the fractured rock can be very quick compared to the soil. Layers of clay or solid rock can prevent or slow down the downward movement of groundwater. Such layers are called aquitards and serve to protect the groundwater located beneath it from contamination. Contamination of our groundwater can happen in many ways. Industrial leaks, septic systems, wells, and underground fuel storage tanks are a few examples. Drainage from urban and rural areas can also contain pollutants, such as road salt, fertilizers, or pesticides that can contaminate our groundwater.
Municipal water systems can filter some pollutants, but not all. Once groundwater becomes contaminated, it is difficult and expensive to clean up. Keeping our sources of drinking water clean is the safest and most economical solution.
If your home is serviced by a septic tank system, every time you shower, flush, or do laundry, the tank is filling with your wastewater. The wastewater is treated by the septic tank and filtered by the soil in a properly constructed leaching field, but some things cannot be filtered out. A septic tank that has leaks, is not properly maintained, or too close to a lake or river has the chance of contaminating the groundwater and eventually our lakes and rivers. You can see that as the septic tank is used, the water flows from it into the groundwater system and eventually makes it to the lake.
Many toxic substances are stored in underground tanks. If those tanks leak, Whatever is in them may go into the groundwater.
For example, if a tank containing fuel leaked, the fuel would move through the groundwater system, possibly into wells, and eventually into the lakes and rivers, contaminating them.
An improperly constructed well is another way our groundwater may become contaminated. A well provides instant and direct access to our groundwater.
A spill near an abandoned well, or one that is poorly constructed, not sealed or capped, can quickly become a problem. The contaminants can flow easily into the well, reaching zones of deeper groundwater. Once in the groundwater, the contaminants can move towards neighboring wells and even into our lakes and rivers.
Now we know how groundwater moves and is impacted by our activities. The good news is we can all help to protect groundwater.
We can maintain our septic systems and not flush anything down the drain, such as paint, chemicals, or unused pharmaceuticals. We can have existing wells upgraded and old unused wells on our property properly sealed by a licensed well contractor. We can use non-toxic biodegradable soaps and household cleansers, or try environmentally friendly alternatives. We can conserve water. We can recycle. Less garbage in our landfills means less to potentially contaminate our groundwater sources. We can reduce or eliminate fertilizers and pesticides from our lawn care. We can test our water regularly so that we know when there is a problem and to look for the source of the problem so that it can be corrected.
We all know how easily our sources of drinking water can become contaminated. We don't want another tragedy like Walkerton. Let's protect our health and ensure good supplies of water for our children and grandchildren. Let's all do our part to make sure our groundwater is clean, abundant, and protected.
Find out more by checking quintasourcewater.ca.